Μισό λεπτό. Οκ.
Καλησπέρα σε όλες και όλους. Να σας καλωσορίσουμε στο έκτο πάνελ του φετινού μας σεμιναρίου εθνογραφή, το οποίο είναι αφιερωμένο στο ζήτημα της θρησκείας στην εθνογραφική συνθήκη ή αλλιώς Religion in the Ethnographic Context, as today's presentation will be in English. Εγώ δεν θα πω περισσότερα πράγματα, πέρα από αυτά τα συνηθισμένα, ότι σε αυτό το σεμινάριο ανοίγουμε τη συζήτηση, τη συνάντηση του θέματος θρησκείας στην εθνογραφική συνθήκη και πώς μπορούμε να το προβοκάρουμε μέσα από τα επιστημολογικά ζητήματα που τίθενται για τον προσδιορισμό το τι είναι θρησκευτικό φαινόμενο και πώς βιώνεται στην καθημερινότητα των ανθρώπων. Σήμερα έχουμε μια συνδυαστική παρουσίαση στο πάνελ με τη Βασιλική Γιακουμάκη, συνάδελφο από το Πανεπιστήμιο Θεσσαλίας, η οποία θα μας μιλήσει για το ζήτημα της προσκυνηματικής πίστης στα Χανιά, με το προκλητικό τίτλο «Υπάρχουν εβραίοι στα Χανιά», θα έλεγα. Ενώ στη συνέχεια θα έγινε μαζί μας ο Μάριο Κάτιτς από την Κροατία, από το Πανεπιστήμιο εκεί του Ζάγκρεπ, για να μας μιλήσει για μια άλλη περίπτωση προσκυνηματικής πίστης στη Βοσνία Ερζεγοβίνη και στα Δυτικά Βαλκάνια. Και για την ώρα θα δώσω το λόγο στον Δημήτρη να κάνει μια παρουσίαση της προσκεκλημένης μας και στη συνέχεια θα συνεχίσουμε και με τον Μάριο και στο τέλος θα υπάρχουν ερωτήσεις οι οποίες μπορούν να γίνουν και στα ελληνικά βεβαίως και να μεταφερθούν και να δοθούν οι απαντήσεις. Δημήτρη.
Ευχαριστούμε, Φωτεινή. Καλησπέρα και από μένα. Λίγα λόγια για τη Βασιλική Γιακουμάκη, καθηγήτρια κοινωνικής ανθρωπολογίας στο Πανεπιστήμιο Θεσσαλίας. Επίκουρη καθηγήτρια κοινωνικής ανθρωπολογίας. Μεταφράζω τα αγγλικά τώρα το μεταξύ. Ιστορίας και αρχαιολογίας στο Πανεπιστήμιο Θεσσαλίας, στο Τμήμα Αρχαιολογίας και Κοινωνικής Ανθρωπολογίας. Τα ερευνητικά ενδιαφέροντα στρέφονται γύρω από τις εθνοτικές ομάδες και μειονότητες, από τις multicultural policies, από τις θα λέγαμε γύρω από τη θρησκεία, τις εβραϊκές ταυτότητες, τις διαπολιτισμικές πολιτικές. Τα διδακτικά της ενδιαφέροντα αφορούν τη θρησκεία και το δημόσιο χώρο, τις εβραϊκές ταυτότητες στην Ελλάδα και στην Ευρώπη και στις μεσανατολικές κοινωνίες. Η πρόσφατη το πρόσφατο επιστημονικό της πεδίο είναι η σύγχρονη Ισραηλινή κοινωνία και η ελληνική κοινότητα μέσα από τους πολίτες του Ισραήλ με ελληνική καταγωγή. Αν έχεις κάτι άλλο, Βασιλική, να προσθέσεις, με χαρά να σε ακούσουμε πάνω στο βιογραφικό σου.
Ναι, θα προσθέσω και κάτι άλλο μετά. Στην πορεία θα βγει. Ευχαριστώ, Δημήτρη, πάρα πολύ. Ήταν πολύ μια χαρά.
Ναι, είσαι καλά.
Ακριβές. So I will switch to English now, but of course we can receive questions in Greek. They're very welcome. So thank you to Fotini and Dimitris for the invitation, which is an honor for me. We have worked together with Fotini for many years in different projects, and there are so many common threads in our work. And the products of our work, besides having given us a lot of pleasure, I think have been meaningful to many people. So I'm also happy to be speaking with Mario, whom I haven't met yet, although we are in the same consortium. So it's a good start. So I'm speaking as a person who is doing anthropology, who is working on religion, religious practice, religious minorities, and the nation state. I'm working on Greece and the Middle East, contemporary Middle Eastern societies, contemporary Israeli society, Jews and Arabs. I'm working on Jewish world. I'm saying this because not to talk about myself, because they have to do with what I have to talk about. Jews of Greece, the Greek Jews of Israel. These are my study projects and ongoing. And currently I'm developing an interest on Arab populations, Christian Arabs in Israel, Arabic Christianity in the Middle East. So, and I'm looking for a PhD student as well. So I've just returned from an Arabic university in Israel, a public university with a large part of the faculty being Muslim Arabs and a minority of it being Christian Arabs, Orthodox and Catholic. And there are also many Protestants in the area. So the area was the Galilee, Nazareth. So a very Arabic, and Druze part of Israel, Druzi. So I understand this seminar is about thinking about ethnography and all the challenges of ethnography at a specific field, in our case, religion, ethnicity and religion. So I'll give you the setting, the ethnographic setting, so that you know what I'm talking about, and then I will pick a couple of topics from it to present them to you as indicative of these challenges. So the setting, the title is funny. Are there Jews in Greece? In Hanya, thank you for this title. You have given me this title, some years now, and I really like it because I cannot answer this question. I can never answer this question. What happens in Hanya answers the question. Yes, there are Jews. No, there are no Jews. I mean, it really depends on how you see it. So the Jews of Crete have been there for over 20 centuries, had been. They're not there anymore. Since the Hellenistic times, which is around the 3rd century before the Common Era. This happened. Why did they come to Crete and then move to the rest of the peninsula, such as Aegina, Chalkida, and other parts like Izmir, right? Same time, Hellenistic times, there was movement in the Hellenistic kingdom in the Eastern Mediterranean. So it's not difficult to understand why. So those first Jews were Romaniotes, as we say in Greek, which means Greek-speaking. Today we call them Romaniotes, Greek-speaking Jews. Then there was this, now I'm leaping, coming to the 15th century with the Sephardic wave from the Iberian Peninsula. So then they encountered the Sephardic Jews who were Latino speaking. So Crete has a mix of both Romaniote and Sephardic Jews. Crete was under Roman rule, Arabic rule, Venetian, which was the longest until the 17th century, less Ottoman, only 2 centuries, but the Ottoman is very recent. So my grandparents remember the Ottomans, for instance, till 1913. So I'm saying all this to give an idea of the trajectories of the Jewish world in Crete, as of other, of course, religious groups in the empire. So we have a coexistence of Romaniotes and Sephardic Jews, which is a conflictual coexistence, not very smooth. They didn't like each other. There was no endogamy historically, not a common language historically, not a common culture. From interviews that we've had with real people, we get the idea of Cretan Jews having been Cretanized, if I may, which means integrated very much, but at the same time very present and very visible. Being Cretanized does not imply some sort of cultural domination in Crete. It would be an oversimplification to say that, but rather that in some places, different local cultures remain more visible and displayable and distinct vis-a-vis the majority culture. In other places, there's a common culture, common cultural codes and practices, which are shared by all, and that is what becomes more publicly displayable. This is a very complicated process, and it varies depending on where you are. It has to do with power relations among the different groups and agents. It has to do with the power of the state, the empire. So you have different processes of integration, let's say, or not, non-integration. In the case of the Cretan Jews, there was more dominant, you had a Cretanness, let's say, excuse me for the term, which was more dominant, that had a priority before Jewishness. For instance, they tell me they didn't speak Latino, there was no Latino word in the weddings, they sang Cretan songs. I don't know what they meant, Cretan songs. So that is very difficult to figure out. So it's not the culture, Jewishness was not swept or deleted, but it existed differently. Also, interestingly, Cretan Jews were also farmers. We don't have the stereotype here. They were landowners, they had farms, they had grapevines, olive trees, not only merchants. So Crete is not the stereotype. In 1913, Crete unites, becomes a part of Greece. Many Jews have already left. Jewish populations are afraid of the nation state coming. We know this from other cases. So the only community that remained, with Jews was Hanya, not Rethino and not Iraklio anymore. Many had already left because they were fearing, the nation state coming. They were fearing persecution, oppression, etc. So the end comes in 1944. I will not say much. I don't want to talk about the Holocaust today. They were all Cretan Jews were arrested in Hanya, and they were put on a ship, the famous Tanais, to go to Auschwitz. The ship sank by a British torpedo by the Allies. And the ship is right now with all the Jewish community of Crete under the waters of Milos and Santorini. After of course, it's a tragic end, and we don't know what is, better to go to Auschwitz or to die on a ship. Well, it's something to discuss for another discussion. In the post-war period, we have a silence period. The nation state is building up. People forget, but what does it mean to forget? How do you forget? Sometimes people are aware that they are forgetting. They know that they're forgetting because they must not upset things. They must not, you must not rock the boat, as they say. You must not cause trouble. It's not convenient to cause trouble, to start remembering. I lived near the area. I grew up there, in Ovriaki. My school fellows lived there. They were very, very poor. Nobody knew what Ovriaki meant, of the inhabitants. The synagogue, after the war, was taken over by squatters, as many other buildings. The entire Jewish neighborhood was taken over by squatters. Who were these squatters? This is a common story in the whole of Europe. They were poor people, domestic migrants coming from the countryside, rural people who were coming into the cities to find a better future. The synagogue was covered in, it became a chicken house. They had animals there. It was covered in soil, dirt. It was rededicated in the 1990s. It reopened in 2000 after an international campaign, which is a whole other story, and I shouldn't talk about it here. It would take too long. It became a world monument, Pangosmio Mnemio, as we say. It was enlisted by the organization World Monuments Fund, το Παγκόσμιο Ταμείο για τα Μνημεία, as an endangered site, an endangered building, so of an important cultural heritage. So since then, a new story begins, because it is redone, the entire building. So I became involved not only as a person who was studying anthropology, but also as a citizen who is involved in the memory of the city, my birthplace. And actually I became involved because of anger. I was very angry because nobody had told me. I was living there all those years. Nobody told us anything. My schoolmates didn't know where they were living. So it was a strange feeling that started all that. So of course, this is a whole other discussion, the sentiments of the ethnographer. Another time we can talk about that. So a new story begins now of the Jewish community with no Jews. We have a Jewish story. We begin a Jewish story, the Hanya Jewish story, with no Jews involved. Most of them are quote unquote Christian, some Muslim. I have a couple of issues. So I'm giving you the setting as much as I could, a summary of that. I have a couple of issues to share now. It's not exhaustive. It's just a couple of issues that are indicative, and you please ask me anything along the way or afterwards. It has to do with the politics of managing cultural heritage. So I will not talk about pilgrimage per se as such, but more about the politics of that. So the first issue is about the ethnographer who happens to be conducting ethnography and at the same time being involved institutionally in the setting. So the ethnographer is involved in the making of the ethnographic setting, not as an outsider, not as a neutral observer. It is a real challenge. And now that I am distancing myself from this, I can, to you, smile and laugh. But for instance, tomorrow morning, the phone calls will start from the office again, from the synagogue office, and the challenge will continue. And the story of running this building and this monument is about sweat and blood, maybe less blood, but more sweat, a lot of sweat and a lot of sleepless nights. There are many dilemmas to tackle because of the dual role. The anthropologist on the one hand and the institutional person on the other. So you have two in the same package. The anthropologist becomes the observer of himself, herself. I happen to be that person, and I can tell you firsthand, I happen to be involved in the making of this place since the very beginning, since when it was covered in soil, mud, chicken dirt. Then I studied as a student, then I made a documentary film about it, then I stopped being an observer and I became part of the making of it as a place of memory. We created an NGO, ένα ΜΚΟ, όπως λέμε στα ελληνικά. A group of us who are of different origins, Greeks, non-Greeks, Jews, non-Jews, rich and poor, university people, other people. So we have a board of directors, ένα διοικητικό συμβούλιο δηλαδή, with many members, and my turn has come to be leading this board. Right now I'm leading, that's why I'm talking about sweat and blood. We do it on rotation. I'm a volunteer, all of us are volunteers in this thing that I'm describing. So this is about cultural heritage management. The synagogue is a monument of Hanya, of Greece. It is also a world monument. It is an international destination. It is a research center. It is a center that receives volunteers from other countries, Germany and Austria. It is home to Erasmus students. It is home to Fulbright scholars, home to US university students who come to work on different projects, on our archive, on our library. Different rabbis from different schools of Judaism come to us, conservative, reform, the church. The synagogue is open to all religions, all dogmas and denominations. Anybody can come in and pray or not pray, or just sit and think and watch. This sounds great, and it sounds very liberal and very liberating. But it's very complicated. Now, Dimitri, can we show a couple of photos?
Yes, we can.
If it's possible. And then I will just continue with yeah. I'll just give you a
also Mario is trying to connect for the next presentation.
Okay.
Now sharing. I made the let me check a little bit. Okay, screen. This is one photo, for example.
This is the team in the yard. The team changes every year. We have different volunteers from different countries, different university students from different countries, and a couple of steady members who are always there. And this is the yard where we all sit and where any visitor can sit and share with us coffee, food, or we can just be there. This is a summer photo from last summer. Αυτό,
Yeah, we can change our photo. Give me a moment to open another photo, maybe. Because you have sent me some photos, I have to check.
Βασιλική, ποιο είναι το όνομα της ΜΚΟ?
Είναι το ίδιο όνομα, it's the same name as the synagogue, Etz Chaim, το δέντρο της ζωής, which is a very common name for a synagogue, like throughout the world. Etz Chaim. I think in Salonika there's also one with the same name. Thank you, Dimitri. This is the same group during lunch. We make food there We do it on rotation. Everybody has to cook and offer to the group. So this is our daily life there. Even my kid is one of them. She works as a volunteer there. Εντάξει, Δημήτρη, ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Thank you.
So now some facts and practicalities. And please stop me because it may be too many facts. Stop me if something is missing in the story. The building belongs to the Greek state because it is Jewish property, εβραϊκές περιουσίες, okay? Where does it belong? To the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs, Υπουργείο Παιδείας και Θρησκευμάτων, right? Specifically, what I'm talking about is the Central Board of Jewish Communities, which is the body that is responsible for all this. KIS, Κεντρικό Ισραηλιτικό Συμβούλιο. Now I just want to note here that Israelitiko has nothing to do with Israeli law, right? Israelitiko is the archaic term for Jewish communities, just because many people get involved. So this is the Greek state here. So we have an institutional actor here of the state deciding for the building. The building doesn't belong to us as an NGO. We're an NGO, we're outside of that, okay? So it belongs to the state. There's nothing we can do about it. The state pays for the bills, period. The state doesn't have a lot of money, but it pays for, the basic bills. If it had not been for the NGO, there would probably be a key and somebody to open the door, show the visitors, and then close the door, as with many other sites. The NGO has done much more. The NGO is an independent entity, right? Non-profit, worked with volunteers. It has a charter, καταστατικό. We work together with the state, with KIS, right? So we have to work together. The NGO brings in the new things, the new air. We attract donations. We hire people. We do outreach work with schools, the city, the region, periferia, the local municipality. One main question posed here is, how do you do this unobstructed? How do you do all this work as an NGO who has the best intentions, unobstructed and in peace, and also in peace with the state as official apparatus, and with two kinds of crowds watching you, who are the most concerned and judgmental crowds: Greeks, Christian Greeks, locals, citizens, inhabitants, the authorities, all these have a great degree of interest, and Jewish people from all over the world, right? So one issue problem is what to promote as heritage and how to promote it in the face of the Greek state, Judaism, Greek or non-Greek, the Greek public, and the church, of course. All these are players in this scene. Attention, Greek Jews are not a homogeneous group. They are both the state and Judaism. We are secular and religious. It's not one body, right? So the Central Board of Jewish Communities is a secular body. Another story is Greek Jews who think of themselves as Jewish people. All these factors, all these agents have different interests and pursuits, agendas, different needs, different fears, different expectations, different threats. They sense different threats. Sometimes their interests are conflicting, sometimes they are attuned to each other. So how does one combine or compromise all this at each political moment is my question. Things, for instance, are different when Turkey is as it is now. It was different with Erdogan 20 years ago. For instance, many Jewish people from all over the world who visited Turkey for tourism. Not anymore. The entire, sort of balance in the region has changed. Common enemies, quote unquote enemies, create different networks, different power relations. Can I bring Turkish students to work at the archive now? No, it's very difficult. I would very much like to. I have wonderful, wonderful candidates from Turkey. It is very difficult to deal with the political situation now and to make a decision. Can I accept a Turkish Erasmus student? Very difficult. So the ideal is there, but at some moments it collapses. Another example, how do I do the Ashkava? The Ashkava is the Mnemosino, the memorial service. I have there's an annual Ashkava, an annual Mnemosino for the dead Jews, but it's not only the dead Jews. We had 3 kinds of populations on the boat that sank that day. We had the Italian captives, Italian prisoners of war, who were Catholic, most of them. We had other Cretans who were leftist communists and were arrested because of their ideology, who were at that time all Christian Orthodox. And we had the Jews. All these 3 populations were on the boat that sank. So first, a few years ago, the Ashkava, the Mnemosino started with just the Rabbi of Athens. But we felt there was something missing. The other 2 denominations, the Catholics and the Orthodox. What do we do? Will a Greek Orthodox priest come and pray with the rabbi? Very difficult. So we sweated a lot. This took a lot of politics in a good sense, a lot of talking. So we have achieved to have all 3 representatives of the 3 religious denominations right now at the Mnemosino, at the memorial service, present and praying, each one doing their own prayer. Yes, we achieved that. They also appear, on photos together, and we have the Catholic priest of Hanya, the Orthodox bishop, and the Rabbi of Athens, all 3 of them. On the same occasion, how do we deal with all the city's officials who want or do not want to be part of this picture? Some really want to be part of this picture. What has changed over the last few years? We used to hear a big no. Now everybody wants to be part of this picture. What has changed? The prefect of Crete, the Peripheriarchis, rather the vice prefect, is now the person that organizes the Holocaust Memorial Day every January. Holocaust Memorial Day, according to Greek law and according to a decision of the Greek parliament, is a responsibility of the local peripheries, the regions, not of the Jewish communities. So the local Peripheriarchis wants to be part of the picture. One note here, the Church of Crete has nothing to do with the Church of Greece, okay? It's a different church, and above us, we have the Patriarch of Constantinople. Again, that complicates politics. Another example, within the same topic, how do we do politics of memory? Where do we put the memorial plaque, the sculpture? Where in the city? How visible can it be? Should it be? What lighting? How prominent should this memorial plaque be? What do we write on it? This is all very political. Finally, it is not only Jewish, it's for the ship. It is inclusive of all 3 communities. We're pleased that this happened. The monument is not only Jewish. How do we handle the newcomers? Yeah, I think I've already posed that with the Turkish student. We have many newcomers who want to work with us at the archive, at the library. How do we handle their the fact that they are of different citizenships, that some of them politically, can be risky. I cannot have students from Iran, period. Recently, it's very difficult to have students from Turkey, unfortunately. Arabic countries. Depends. Again, I'm always in this very difficult position whereby I have to talk to people, ask people how to go about this. It's very, very difficult. I cannot decide by myself. Am I betraying my ideals? No, this is realpolitik. I have to do this. Another issue that is coming up within the last 3 years, we are increasingly identified with Israel, and this is very problematic because the synagogue is in Greece and it has to do with Greek Jews, and it does not have to do with another country. So this has become very complicated, and because of that, we have been very hesitant to do things, reluctant, and very scared and threatened. At the same time, we have many, of course, Israeli visitors of very different views. At the same time, we have many Jewish visitors who are not Israeli from different countries with very different views. We cannot politicize the place. We don't want to do that, politicize in the stricter sense of the word. We want to bring people together. I don't want this to sound romantic. We don't want to denounce or divide people. We want to bring projects, people, groups, collectivities together as much as we can and we're allowed. As much as the circumstances allow, that's what I mean. Another example, please tell me if my time is over, I'm almost done, is that, so in all these things, I do not decide as an anthropologist only, but mainly as an institutional person, like a little politician, essentially. So my two attributes, the anthropologist and the institutional person, sometimes are in a conflict. In an ideal world, I would let everyone in. But an ideal world is a world without politics, and it's not a real world. So my life and everybody's life in the group that you saw in the photo is, our life is about negotiations and compromises on a daily basis. Another topic is now beyond our politics, the politics of the community within. Who is the Jew in the story? Jew, quote unquote. The native Jews are not there anymore. They left in 1944 in one morning, disappeared. Many years of silence after that. Today we call it a Jewish community. It is not the native Jews. We don't have an official Jewish community with a rabbi and a minimum of 10 males, 10 men make a community for the liturgical aspect. Can we claim that we have a Jewish community? Because we do that. And in Athens, they call us the Jewish community of Hanya, but we have no Jews. We do have Jews, but what kind of Jews do we have? We have imported Jews, excuse me for the humor. They marry locals. They are Jewish people from different countries, or they're Israeli Jewish people from different countries who marry local people. So we have newcomers who are of Jewish descent. Some of them are very secular people and they do not want to relate themselves to religion. So can we claim we have a Jewish community? So what makes you a Jew? Blood? One of my colleagues, one of the people in the group that you saw, a research assistant, says to me all the time, can I say I'm a Jew? I've done everything. I've done all Jewish things. I do all Jewish prayers for the Shabbat. I help the tourists. I've done all the holidays. I preserve local memory. Am I a Jew? Am I not a Jew? Another issue, which is a little funny, it's a bit liturgical, a bit dogmatic. Rabbinical traditions differ very much. Rabbis differ very much because Jewish communities are independent. There is no central authority. So every Jewish community decides for itself. This is the rule. This is the tradition. Everything is different. Even the chanting is different. The language is different. The styles are different. I've had different rabbis disagree. I found myself resolving problems of rabbinical dogmatic nature, which was a pleasure, actually. Once I had the problem, we were hosting a Jewish person from a different sort of branch of Judaism, an Ashkenazi Jew, who wanted to participate in the service. And I had a rabbi, a visiting rabbi, who was Sephardic. It is very different for different traditions to coexist. People did not feel comfortable with each other. How do we do the service when we have different people coexisting? It's something that I cannot answer, and I cannot resolve myself being an outsider. What if a female rabbi comes in, Ravinessa? We've had female rabbis from US, from France. What will the Greek rabbi say to that? Will he agree or not? Can she perform a service in our synagogue? The synagogue is also a place, where we can, somebody can get married there. You can have bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah. So can the female rabbi perform a service in my synagogue? Can we allow a wedding ceremony in a same-sex couple? Jewish. I'm saying yes, personally, to all these things, but are there norms and traditions that I should abide by? I'm still, these are problems that we haven't resolved. I'm almost done. And then the visitor, the pilgrim, the Jewish pilgrim, the Jewish visitor, they have their own idiosyncrasies. We have different kind of visitors. The pilgrim or the visitor who is Jewish may have various agendas. What kind of Judaism do they come from? Are they Romaniote, Sephardic, other, Ashkenazi, something else? Are they Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist? Everybody has a different view. Even the Rabbi of Athens has a different view. The Rabbi of Athens says, we are Greek Jews. He's asked, what does this mean? In which box do you locate yourself? There's no box. We are Greek Jews. What happens when a religious person comes in and claims that, this is their own heritage and tells us that we are not doing the right thing, that the objects are in the wrong position, that the liturgical, process service is not done the right way? What do we do then? It's as though I'm going to a Christian church in the US and I complain that the service is done in English. Why is the service done in English? Why are people sitting on seats and they're not standing? No, something like that, something parallel to that. So I've just presented some of the array of issues that we're dealing with. And just to tell you that I haven't answered, I cannot provide definite answers to them because the answers and the solutions that we follow depend really on the political circumstance and on the social setting. What is the local society and what are the politics of the moment? Crete is not a peripheral case. The synagogue is not just a little thing somewhere in Crete, in the peripheries of Europe, etc., etc. It's actually, I think, a model for ethnographic challenges. We have one challenge is the ethnographer being the one observed and the one observing at the same time. Another challenge is the politics of memory making and memory places. Another challenge is that you have Jewish identity here. It's an emblematic identity. It has a very weighty history. There's a lot of weight on our shoulders, not because it's a more important identity. I don't mean to prioritize. I'm right now working on, for instance, the Yazidis in Kurdistan. Equally weighty history. It's a minority with many painful chapters in their history. Their story, it's a small minority, but their story, the Yazidi story, tells much about the entire Middle East, right? And about the Kurds and the entire Middle East. In the same manner, the Jewish story tells much about the making of Europe. But this is a minority which is not located in one place. It's like the Yazidi or the Druze that I'm also working on. It's just everywhere. in Europe. So this is what I mean by a lot of weight. And I will stop here without a conclusion, because maybe either Mario will continue, or you can ask me things directly, whatever you prefer.
I think, thank you, Vasiliki, for this presentation. Thank you. We're so glad to hear all this, have all this data from you and reflections. And I suggest to do the discussion now because I can't see Mario yet. Is that correct, Dimitri?
I fully agree with you. Yeah, it's better to start with a discussion.
Yeah, let's discuss because we have, I'm sure there are a lot of questions and issues, topics to discuss. So I open the floor.
I think
for...
not everybody speaks Greek, right?
No. Μπορούμε και στα ελληνικά να κάνουμε την
But we have
Celine with us. You can ask in Greek and Gilles. We can ask in Greek if you want,
and I can respond. I can switch to both.
Who wants to start?
I can start, if I may.
Yeah, go on, Gilles. Yes, of course.
Thank you very much, Vasiliki. It was very interesting, and now that I know the place, it's much more concrete and much more real. So thank you. I was wondering, you said the place was open to different categories of people: Jews, non-Jews, Greeks, non-Greeks, etc. What about the ethnographers? Do you have other ethnographers who have worked on this place? And if it is the case, does their own view on the place changed your view on these issues? Is it something that can help you to have other ethnographers studying this place?
Oh, certainly. Various ethnographers arrive and stay with us for shorter or longer periods. They really help shed light on different aspects that we never imagined, because just because we're inside, we cannot always distantiate ourselves from it. So, for instance, our common friend Manuel and the group that we're working with in a consortium, this is the last instance I can think of, ethnographers that really helped us, really offered another perspective, and we've had many discussions. So we were able to see ourselves from through a third eye. So definitely a yes. I don't know if you want anything more specific from me to tell you, but this is definitely a big yes. And yes, many people come, and yes, it's so helpful.
Okay.
Elaine.
Vasiliki, thank you. You have a lot of work to do, and I envy you. The problems and dilemmas you're presenting are more or less common once an ethnographer, an anthropologist goes, public. These are the problems and the dilemmas public anthropology has to face, to confront. What are the ways? What are the manifestations of, what are the moments when you feel you are an anthropologist, you play the role of an anthropologist in these situations? I don't know how to, I don't know if...
You mean, okay, the moments when I actually have to talk about history, culture,
yes, I mean,
etc.
Instead of separating your academic work, which is more easy, let's say, to concentrate on certain theoretical or other problems, and then have the practicality.
Yes. Yes.
Are there any moments when you say that here there is a strong intersection between your anthropologic, your role as an anthropologist, and the practicalities?
Outreach.
Not sure what I'm asking.
Yeah, no. I think I have some answers. These moments are when we come in contact with students. The outreach in schools. We are a quote-unquote Jewish community in Greece that does a lot of work. We're an NGO that does a lot of work with education, in cooperation with the with the Ministry of Education, the Secretary General of Religious Affairs. That's one sort of institutional aspect that we have. So, and then the local, what's the word in English? It used to be επιθεωρητές, now we call them, sorry, I'm very old-fashioned.
Anyway,
yeah, the people who are responsible for the secondary and primary education. Yeah. The directors of secondary and primary education of different specialties, such as the physics, the philologists. So we work with them, and we enter schools, and we talk to the students at different classes, either in the religious class or in other classes, and we there we can really be anthropologists and do the same work that we do in the university, in the classroom with students. And actually it is fascinating to work with younger students because they come up with such good questions. It's amazing, maybe even better than the university sometimes. It's interesting to speak with teachers. Some of them are extremely prejudiced, and they remain prejudiced, and they don't want to have anything to do with us. Some others change along the way in the process, Some others, we decide to come to us for coffee, and, we become friends. It varies. I think education is the largest, one of the main chapters that we work, and that's where we can really apply what you're saying, Eleni. We can really do that. And also another interesting meeting point is with the church, the local church, the priests. Fascinating. Yeah. Because they have a lot to say. And some of them are very open people, and it really depends on the individual there. It's to me, that is one of the most fascinating things I've ever come across. Yeah.
Okay.
Θα μπορούμε να μιλήσουμε άλλη φορά για τους ιερείς στην Ελλάδα.
Ωραίο θέμα. Very nice topic. Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, Yanni.
All right, thank you. Vasiliki, I have been listening to you. Thank you so much. And I have been thinking of so many occasions in my own experience, and also research and anthropological, my anthropological research with parts of representing, talking about, and also practically or in an applied way, demonstrating the existence of those old cultures of expressive culture, like dancing, singing,
of course,
and language, and everything with such issues in northern Greece and also other parts of the Balkans. I understand that if we would discuss now, I'm reflecting on what you say, what you said. If we discuss only up to the point where this is a discussion on how to follow it in anthropological terms, there's so many interesting things to say. You already posed these issues, you have this dual role tension, institutional person and ethnographer. You have the problem how to deal in all these, how to manage these multiple audiences, and how do we represent and discuss the concept of heritage in a context where there are not so many, let me say, interreligious connections. My answer, well, I don't have an answer, of course, but I mean, my opinion has been formed through my own experiences, and I see that your also presentation touches upon all these issues of applied anthropology, if we call it, or public anthropology questions, okay? All these ethical dilemmas of representation and communities, etc. Well, my understanding has been that we can never be on both positions, ethnographer, anthropologist, because the dilemmas are so strong that somehow we come across these questions. So is this right to do this? From what perspective? And in my understanding and my experience, I have seen that it's better to, deal with these inside ourselves and finally choose one of the positions we want to follow, because this is not just an academic discussion, or this is not an academic activity, as you said.
Sure.
Right? It's very, very political. And of course, all of us who live in Greece, we know that there's no chance that somebody can combine all these different political agendas. So if I would believe in what I'm doing, which I understand is important for you with this NGO, I would just, forget that I am an anthropologist in terms of, academic ethics, and I would think how my anthropological understanding can help me in my political managing of the situations. That's
yes. I entirely agree. Usually I forget that I'm an anthropologist, yes. Mostly I have to do with, what the mayor will say, what will the authorities say, what will they say, what will the people in Athens say, the Jewish community, because this is what I have to do. This takes precedent. I'll provide a small example, which is a little painful about the politics of that, and it's something that brought us to tears. When the war started, not on October 7th, after a few months after October 7th, we have the conflict, and we have a person visiting the synagogue from Israel who wants to pray for the soldiers, right, the Israeli soldiers, and she says, can I pray, loudly so people can hear me? We're saying, well, look, this is very difficult now. Having someone to pray publicly for the Israeli soldiers, this was one of the most difficult things for me to tackle. And we're saying, why? She goes, well, I have a relative who's a kid in Gaza. One of her relatives was in Gaza fighting. He didn't want to fight. He was in the army. He's a soldier, right? This is a very painful story. So she wanted to, of course, everybody can pray in a place of prayer. But the thing is, praying out loud so people can hear you. How do I handle this situation now? So anyway, she whispered the prayer, but other people could hear, and nobody was annoyed. But this can cause a problem, because I'm in Greece, it's a different country, and somebody is praying for the army of another country. Very difficult, right? But also I can understand her. I can understand why she wants to pray, right? And it is her own right and her own pain.
But strategically, just to finish this, we as social scientists, I think we have the tools to put together all these pieces and try to understand, certain aspects of this. Not necessarily that we will succeed in how this outcome will come out, but this is the real world process that we need to work in.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree, Yanni.
Thank you.
Vasiliki, if I may, yes, there are other questions there. I can't see. Okay, my aporia on here is okay. It's too complicated for me. All this project too complicated because there are, and of course you, as an anthropologist going in public, you should take decision every time, in every, for everything, for every topic you are raising to study, to observe, whatever.
Yes.
For instance, here I see that you have that you are doing there from an anthropological point of view could be on the topic of challenging religious education, let's say, or the national education through the programs. It's one thing, and which is very interesting. Okay, another could be the management of the cultural heritage within local societies, and what kind of issues that could raise issues of memory, issues of subjectivity beyond ethnic collectivities or whatever. But the ethical, let's say, part for me that presents the most difficulties here is through this NGO you are making part, you are creating events. So you are producers. And by producing events, you are taking part of politically speaking, I mean. And so you can't take distances from on the spot, etc., without all the whole political consequences on every topic. That's the incident you just described with the lady who wanted to perform. For me, for instance, would be out of question to receive this kind of person, because from the beginning I would say that here we are talking about the genocide. It's out of question to support all these issues, etc. So definitely there is a decision to make on the spot every time. So my question here is, I'm following the thoughts of Yannis about when we are anthropologists and when we are part of the NGO here. And all these issues are connected with the issue of anthropology, when anthropology is going public, and how critical we can be in this, through this role to play, or we are, let's say, I don't find another word, pretending that we are neutral, which is not the case, of course, because every position is a political position.
Certainly.
We can't be neutral over there. I understand all these implications and all these intersections very well, because I faced this issue, as you know, but also in Trace.
Yes,
when
of course.
We have to take part.
Of course. That's how I started with your work.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know. The question is what you are going to do from now on. Let's say, what's the project for the future? That's I'm really interested to see the
I guess I will continue the same way. And let me tell you, okay, we're not neutral, no, because everything we do is a political statement. I will continue in the same manner. For instance, this is a synagogue and it's a Jewish place, but we don't only do things Jewish, we do everything. So our next exhibition, for instance, the main cultural event, will be on the Giretli, which is the Cretans who became Muslim and they live now in Asia Minor. So this is like one example of the range of the things we do that does not only have to do with Judaism, and should not, because if you want to talk about Judaism, then you should talk about everything else too. So we do deal with everything else. We are not confined to, otherwise we would be dogmatic. We would be like very narrow. So I will continue dealing with everything else. So if somebody needs the space, if you want to play violin for Tini and you need the space for a concert, I will give you the space.
Okay. Yeah.
If a group, a collective wants to, present something publicly in the city of Hanya, I will offer the space. Of course, with all the limitations that I mentioned and all the hesitations and the politics that I mentioned, but we are trying to remain, to stick to the ideal as much as we can by doing realpolitik at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, but that's why we don't sleep very often. I don't sleep. Yeah. Also, you can imagine now in the last 3 years and after the situation in the Middle East, I appear on YouTube sometimes without my knowledge of that. I appear on Google. If you Google me, the video says Vasiliki Gιακουμάκη, president of the synagogue. What the hell is that? I'm not president of a synagogue. I have nothing to do with a synagogue. I'm leader of an NGO. But people read me as president of a synagogue. This huge misunderstanding, and this leads to huge problems also at my daily workplace. Huge misunderstandings. Yep.
Yanni, ζήτησες να μιλήσεις? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm thinking again, I think we could also rename your lecture at least, Vasiliki. So from an ethnographer or from ethnographer of religion to a practitioner of managing politics of religion in the real world. And I'm thinking, and this is something that, I mean, it's just a thought now, we need to discuss this in our laboratory, but we might start seeing the large number of anthropologists who are not academics, but have to work in these real world cases. And they can teach us a lot more than, what we also say or do or teach with our research. And this might be a new series of lectures, maybe, or something from our laboratory.
Yeah. Outside the academia. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
You touched upon those issues.
No. Yanni, believe me, after I've handled like a bunch of problems like the ones I've just described, and then I go back to my classroom, I feel like the classroom is like a refuge. It's like a shelter. The academia is like this golden castle that is not threatened by anything. But then there's the real world outside. And what do we do about that? We close our eyes. And I have to deal with that. And look, I'm not paid. I'm a volunteer. This can be a masochistic process, right? Why am I doing this? Okay, this is for my psychoanalyst, but there's a real world that has to be dealt with out there, and we are in the golden castle. We are.
Okay. Eleni.
I don't know. I disagree with this. I mean, this very rigid separation between academic life and non-academic and out there. I think I disagree. There's a lot of literature on these problems, and if we are interested in teaching those problems, in presenting them to our students, it's up to us. Teaching itself has a lot of problems, a lot of dilemmas, especially in the Greek university. And I think that, I don't know, now that I am old enough, I cannot divide the two so rigidly.
Yeah, me too.
I think we can, of course we can teach. No, I agree with you, Eleni. It's not that we cannot teach. It's just that, you know, it's one thing having to deal with the mayor of your city, like on a daily basis, and another thing being totally independent and autonomous and not having to deal with this thing. And if the mayor is an unpleasant person, like I'm talking about any Greek city, right, and a very closed-minded, narrow-minded person, then it's a problem. It's a problem.
I know, of course.
And I need the mayor. I need the mayor. I can't work without them. That's the kind of thing.
What you mean.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, definitely anthropology is going public more and more, and this is the challenge for us. This is, and that's why we are facing this, and we are raising all these topics in our classes. Tomorrow, for instance, I'm going to talk about this in a seminar on methodology and fieldwork, etc. How we can go and discuss the cultural heritage issues and all these issues from the point of view of the ethnographers in the field, for instance, in which field outside the academia walls, etc., etc. So, and co-create with our interlocutors on all these issues, how to make events, take part on political issues at the moment, etc. So I think your presentation gave us a lot of food, Vasiliki, for thought and practices, of course. And thank you so much for this.
Thank you for the questions, because they always, help me see and evaluate what I'm doing, and just, bring me back to my sort of balance, which I lose sometimes.
All of us. Αυτό που δεν βλέπω είναι το Μάριο. I can't see Mario. I don't know where is. Πού πήγε ο Μάριος? Είχαμε καμία άλλη ειδοποίηση, Δημήτρη?
Όχι, δεν έχουμε κάποια άλλη ειδοποίηση.
Δεν τον βλέπω.
Δεν προλάβει ο άνθρωπος. Είχε αυτή την υποχρέωση.
Οκ. Νομίζω ότι μπορούμε να σταματήσουμε εδώ. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, Βασιλική.
Thank you. I'm honored to be able to present this. It doesn't happen very often.
No, it's okay. We love so much to discuss all this with you, and it's always a pleasure.
Φωτεινή, excuse me. Before closing, can I make a final question to Vasiliki?
No, go on.
The final one. Since we like to make some comparisons in anthropology, and the example of Thessaloniki, for example, have those few Jews who survived and carried the weight of memory, of reconstructing the memory when they returned as community. We could say that these are some agents of memory reconstruction with some ethical advantage as survivors of the Holocaust. In Crete, we don't have such a case, and we have somebody else who is managing this, an NGO, your NGO, etc. My question is, what is the real purpose beyond all this effort? I mean, we had all these kind of dilemmas, etc. But is it for religious purposes? It is for tourist purposes. It is for the reconstruction of the local history. What is behind your mind, Vasiliki? As a final question, this is what I would like to conclude.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like a missionary, and I'm not saying this with any kind of arrogance. We are training a city to remember, to learn to remember, and to honor its past and the present. We're training a city to, do away with prejudice, different separation walls, and we believe we are doing our best. If you look at the city next door, for instance, Iraklio needs a lot of training still. They don't have a group like us. We have worked there for 20 years, and now we can see the products of our work. in other parts of Greece, even with living Jewish communities, you have other results. So I think we're training people, and as I said, I'm not saying this in an arrogant manner, to learn to see their own, you know, past, their own history through different eyes. No.
Okay.
Okay, Vasiliki.
Okay, so Mario another time, right?
Yes, we
yes.
see. Δεν τον βλέπουμε εδώ, οπότε next time.
Next time, yes.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, all of you.
Good to see all of you. Good to see some old friends. Thank you for having me. Hope to see you soon. Γεια χαρά.
Γεια χαρά σε όλους.
Thank you.
Το επόμενο σεμινάριο στις 19 Μαΐου είναι το τελευταίο της σειράς, με την Ευγενία τη Φωτίου και τον Μπαρμπαλέξη, που θα μας μιλήσουν και για πιο καινούργια πράγματα.
Ωραία, ωραία.
Λοιπόν,
Γεια σας.
Ευχαριστούμε.
Γεια σας.
bye.
Γεια.